Hey, what's up everybody? How's it going? I hope you're all doing well. I got another gameplay update here for you, and it's a bit all over the place, kind of a scatter shot. I worked on all kinds of stuff. I made a new character, I did some VFX work, level design work, and even a little bit of production work just to get my project organized. So yeah, there's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. So this is where we left off last time. With our little fishing hook guy. He's pink, he shoots out the fishing hook, which will pull the player towards him. He does exactly what I was hoping for in a gameplay blockout, which is to prove out whether the game mechanic is going to be fun or not, without really requiring a lot of time investment on my part to do that. Once I was happy with the gameplay, I moved on to making the art. So I kind of stuck with that idea that I had in the last video of the frog guy. Here's what I ended up with. Yeah, I think he's kind of cute. He's a black little frog with spikes on his back and 4 eyes. I also did this thing with the tongue where I left it perfectly straight because I knew when I animated it, I was going to need to stretch it out as far as the player. So it just made a lot more sense to keep this straight instead of having it be bent or something like that. But this model is also, like our other high poly models, way too high to be in the game. It's like 260,000 triangles. So that wasn't going to work. So I had to go make our low poly model like we always do. Poof. And here's kind of what he ended up with. I'm still playing around with the colors. The purple's a little crazy, I think, but it looks good in game. And you'll see I did this thing where, hey, I got all these joints. They follow, or the mesh follows the joints. Hey, waved everybody. All right. And then he has his kind of idle animation where he's like burp, burp. And he will spit. He has his intro and outro for that tongue, and then I actually use in my script I actually control how far that tongue will go and for how long. Like so if it hits a player, it will stop and it just won't keep going. So that's why it couldn't just be a baked animation. Then I have his little walk animation and his dead animation. And once I get through all that Maya madness and export him out and bring him into Unity, this is what he looks like with all the materials set up. He looks very smug. Then I actually have to implement this guy, and that actually kind of covers all kinds of different jobs. The first thing I usually have to do is set up all these different animations, which frame they're going to start on, which frame they're going to end on. And something special that I sort of learned by doing a bunch of these things. Originally, I was triggering abilities in code, like just with like timing it that way, and often it wouldn't line up with my animations. So I learned about this cool little thing called animation events, and that's what I use now. So you can see on this animation here, it's called hook out. I have hook out and hook in. Hook out is what plays, it like shoots the tongue out and then it's just gonna hold it. It doesn't loop. I don't have this loop checkbox going, so he's just gonna shoot it out and it's gonna hold it. And then when it gets to a specific part of that animation, you can see this little tick here, the little blue tick. That's gonna call a function in an event script that will actually grab this tongue bone and launch it out as far as I've set. So I think I have it set to like 30 units or something. It's gonna keep going until it hits that maximum distance or it hits a player, and then it's going to start pulling him back. Here's the animation event that we're triggering from that little blue tick in the hook out animation. All it's going to do is change this hooking boolean from false to true. And then in late update, if hooking is true, we're going to reset the cooldown on the NPC ability AI, that's what controls how often or how an NPC is going to use its ability. We're going to turn on the tongue's collider so that, hey, if the tongue hits something, then we know we need to pull it back towards us. And then here we're going to run the hookshot function, which is what controls sending the tongue out here or returning the tongue if it's hit something or maybe if it's made it to that maximum distance. Pull player is the function that gets called like, hey, we've hit a player. We need to start playing the or pulling that back to us, and then also eventually once it's all the back, we will play that hook in animation. So we'll finish that animation. This hook in animation also has an animation event on it. that will fire once it's done, and that's called ability complete. So once that hook animation finishes, it's going to fire off this function, and that's going to kind of reset everything and allow the NPC to start moving again. All right, and so after a bit of tinkering, here's how he ended up in game. I got a whole crowd of them here, but so basically they will try to chase you down and hit you with their hands. If you go out of range, that's going to trigger their tongue attack, and that's when they're going to try to shoot the tongue out and pull you towards them. It's actually been really cool because it's really hard to stay still against these guys. It forces you to play in a very different way than you would against even like that spiker guy that we just made, the crab guy. Even if I set up a personal shield or something, these guys pull you out of that really quickly. Or if like you're trying to stay back and shoot and they're with a big crowd of enemies, it's really easy to get pulled out of position because they'll just pull you straight into the crowd, and then you're sort of stuck. So yeah, I'm really happy with how they feel different from the other enemies we have in the game. I'm also continuing work on our new campground tile set. Gosh, there's a lot to do, but we're making progress bit by bit. I added a new weather effect. So somebody suggested it in the comments. I thought it was a cool idea, so I just went for it. So you see these little fireflies like flickering in the air around you. Yeah, I think that was really cool. That was a great idea. Yeah, please, if you have ideas, just leave them in the comments. That is super, super helpful. I also worked on a little fire effect for our campfire. So that feels a little bit better now. The light even like flickers and stuff, which is cool. And then mostly what I was doing here is, if we zoom out, I've been kind of trying to expand our little diorama to the rest of the tile set. So I replaced all the fill tiles, so now they're trees. And I'm trying to like think fundamentally how I want this tile set to play differently from our little neighborhood. Which the neighborhood, you know, you have streets and it's very easy to follow those streets to get out of the level. And I wanted to make it like really hard to get lost in the neighborhood because that was going to be the first environment you hit. I didn't really want that area to be about exploration. It was mainly just kind of getting from A to B. But I think we're going to do something a little different with the campground. It's going to be more open. I want to get rid of the walls. And I actually made this start tile here. Oh, let's move this here so you have a bit more room. I made the start tile actually a 4-way. And I think I'm going to do that with all the start tiles in the camp tile set. Just so you have a little bit more open space and you don't really have one clear direction like you do in the neighborhoods. So yeah, I don't even know, I'd have to look, but I don't even know which is the exit. But yeah, I think this is gonna be kind of cool. So if you go into the game and you kind of wander outside of the start tile, it's just totally open. There's I mean, I'm gonna have trees and stuff, of course, and tons of props, but yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting. I think you're gonna get lost here. Like you're kind of have that feeling of being in a forest. So I think that'll be cool. It'll feel different from the neighborhood, I hope. And yeah, let me know what you think about that. That's my current thought process going forward with it. But I'm sure I'll learn a lot just by building this thing out. One other thing I started to do was get my Trello board together. Just so I'd have a better view of the project from a high level and know really what I still need to do to get like at least a minimum viable product of the game ready to go. And it was actually kind of encouraging because I haven't done this in a while. I had a Trello board when I first started, but I found it wasn't actually very useful because I didn't quite have a clear vision for what I was building, and my tasks changed so often. I didn't feel like it was really relevant a week or two after I had edited the board. But here it's cool, so I can see like I have a bunch of monsters done, a bunch of abilities, projectiles, and weapon types, and it's encouraging. It's like, okay, cool, yeah, I have a few things. I've got quite a bit done here, and if I'm trying to do 15 abilities, I don't have that many more to go. So yeah, this is kind of cool. I don't know how often I'll update this. I don't really want to go too low level on these things, but it was a cool project I thought I'd share. I think next time I'm going to keep working on trying to flesh out the camp tile set. I want to at least get a first pass on everything so I can start to get a good idea of what like a whole level will look like, with like a whole forest level will look like. Yeah, and I think I'll learn a lot, like if my idea of keeping it more open is actually going to work, or maybe I need to try a new approach. Then I think I'm going to get going on another monster. I really want to do that waiver monster type. I got the code actually working for him now, so he's not all buggy. And I'm thinking he's going to be a mosquito that kind of flies around. But let me know what you guys think about that. I'm totally open to ideas. I'd love to hear your input. And yeah, I think that's it. I will see you in the next gameplay update. Bye.